A button prompt is when a game tells you what a button on the controller does, and all being well usually says things like press X to jump or press B to crouch, but sometimes all is not well. In these moments, don't be surprised if a game flashes up a button prompt that's weirder than a Tim Burton cheese dream. An on-screen instruction so bizarre that the only sane response is to not do as the game asks, but instead put the controller down, turn off your game's console and walk to the haberdashery because it's time to take up the less weird and stressful hobby of knitting. This is harder than it looks. Here are the weirdest button prompts that you were not ready for. Beware spoilers for the following on the Spoiler Scarf.
It's normal when playing Dark Souls to want to curl up in a ball, for example when something like this happens. Yep, that's a ball situation. See you in a week. However, the famously difficult Dark Souls is very much in the habit of denying you the things you want, including your desire to assume the fetal position. Except that is for one very odd and specific circumstance, namely the method by which you find the nest of a crow who you can trade with if you bring items to its egg-filled home.
You, give me warm, give me soft.
And if you think that's weird, well, yeah, you're like 1000% correct. Trouble is, the nest of this mysterious crow, which is affectionately known by Dark Souls players as Snuggly, is all the way back in the undead asylum where you started the game. As such, you need to find a way to fly back there. The solution comes in the form of a second crow's nest, which you can clamber up to with a little nimble footwork, before being presented with one of the oddest button prompts in the history of gaming: curl up like a ball. Hard to know why, but the explanation that seems to make the most sense is that you're pretending to be an egg, and we use the word sense in the loosest possible way. Remain curled up for a full 20 seconds and a giant crow will appear to carry you back to the asylum. Not that birds really carry their eggs around like this, but whatever. Unless maybe the crow recognised you as different to the other eggs and is getting rid of you, or like it's some kind of crow sport. You know what, why am I even bothering to try and make sense of this? Back in the ball I go.
Mitchell, over here! Give me charge. Okay, time for a second.
Experts theorize that there are 5 stages to grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and press F to pay respects, or swear if you're on PlayStation. Players can experience the last phase of this emotional journey in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which begins with your deployment to the streets of Seoul, South Korea, featuring you and your best friend in the whole wide world, Will.
Mitchell! Hines! Lead out! Let's get it done.
Boy, I got a good feeling about this Will character.
It's okay. I'll see you on the other side.
Darn nuts. Poor Will's death might be a terrible loss, but his explosive demise is pop culture's gain, as his funeral gives us one of gaming's most memed, most weird, and undoubtedly most jarring button prompts ever. When Advanced Warfare came out, the funeral scene was widely derided, of course, for failing to account for the massive tonal divide between the grief that comes with the loss of a friend and a glib on-screen prompt to process said grief ASAP so you can get back to the bit where you breach through rooftops in slow motion. But anyone looking to defend Advanced Warfare could try using the same excuse I do when I go around town wearing a cape, namely, Batman does it. Because the Caped Crusader gets an identical moment of button prompt weirdness in the game Arkham City, where it's possible to visit the spot where Bruce Wayne's parents died, for some reason still outlined in chalk, despite Batman's parents having been dead for roughly 3 decades by this point. Paying your respects here sees Batman bow his head for roughly 1.5 full minutes of intense cinematic grieving. which is quite the time investment, but then I guess there's no quick way for a superhero to pay their respects to a lost loved one.
Hey, Uncle Ben. Miss you. Doing my best to make you proud.
Hey, 4 seconds. Well, to be fair, that was very efficient.
Not everyone likes surprises, as the team can attest to after trying to throw me a surprise birthday party last year. Especially Andy. My panic reflex is punching. There are some game characters that should rightly hate surprises, such as any orc in Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor who doesn't clock some elf-possessed ranger sneaking up on them and shanking them senseless. But before you can go around Mordor murderizing clueless Cockney orcs, you must first learn how to stealth attack by practicing on your wife? Wait, hang on, what? The game's flashback-fueled tutorial not only has a sword-fighting section where you wail on your son Diriel in an offspring-humiliating sword fight, but it also teaches you how to sneak up on others by having you crouch walk behind love of your life Ireth and, I quote, press X to kiss your wife. Oh cool, so you don't murder her, but somehow that button prompt is much weirder. You can only press X to kiss your wife if you're in stealth mode, with the prompt disappearing should you stand up. So you have no choice but to squat behind her like a beardy crab in order to give her affection and flowers.
Happy anniversary, my love.
Alien, this is beautiful. Where did you find it?
This is also minutes later you already know how to sneak up on someone, only this time it's not to kiss them, but force 2 feet of steel through their ribcage. Don't remember anything about this in the Silmarillion. Oh wait, there it is. Man, this book has everything.
Taker finally got possession of the urn that's caused him so much grief.
That was like his kryptonite, Michael. Now he owns it.
Wait a minute. Did he just give it back to New School?
There are sometimes subtle clues that the sports entertainment of professional wrestling is sometimes a little less sports and a little more entertainment. Take the wrestler Brock Lesnar, for instance, who simply must be CGI. Sometimes these clues are, shall we say, less subtle, as when in the official WWE video game SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, the story mode for The Undertaker sees the legendary wrestler turn rival Dave Finlay into a zombie, having unleashed the powers of a mystic urn.
It looks like... Did The Undertaker just possess a member of New School?
It looks like the urn did more to him last week than we thought. He's become a zombie.
It's tough to imagine what WWE protocol is in the event of a wrestler being turned into a member of the undead. Perhaps to evacuate the amphitheatre, or submit Finlay's body to medical science for study, or continue with the scheduled bouts as normal, with zombie Finlay up against living pro wrestler Rey Mysterio Jr.
This is my opponent for tonight? That's a little loco, but a match is a match.
As this is The Undertaker's story though, your job is to watch from ringside, as Mysterio throws down with zombie Finlay, but with the added twist that you can now influence the outcome of the match via the wholly unexpected and utterly inexplicable button prompt, Do Magic. Do Magic. What, does it finally get Elias's stupid drifter gimmick over with the fans? Am I right?
Are you reading that off your hand?
Turns out, Do Magic, in this case, sees The Undertaker summon paranormal forces to stun zombie Huppet Finlay, giving Mysterio an opening in their bout. And oh my word, what even is this sentence?
A vicious blow to the opponent.
Hammering the Do Magic button lets you keep Finlay dazed, allowing Mysterio to humiliate your rival over and over.
Hurricane Rana! Hurricane Rana!
Beyond the embarrassment of being turned literally undead in front of thousands of fans, that is. Wow, Undertaker, what's your next trick? Finally getting Cesaro a main event push?
Talked about this. Come on, let's go.
upcoming action game, Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey, puts you in control of the primitive creatures who will one day give rise to all human life. So it's fairly important that while playing you don't stack it out of a tree and break your legs or anything. Just hand the future of the planet to the reptiles, why don't you? If you're playing the game properly though, you'll be focused on ensuring the survival and evolution of the species by mastering new skills, bonding with members of your clan, and of course, bringing new apes into the world by getting 2 sufficiently bonded apes into the same location and holding B to mate. At which point the camera floats off to spare you the sight of your oldest relatives in the act of mating, although for some reason the audio keeps running. Anyway, if you think holding B to mate is the weirdest button prompt in this game, then good on you for being an optimist, because that's not easy in these modern times. But in fact, there's a much more memorable button prompt just around the corner when you lay your newly pregnant ape down in the sleeping spot and, oh gosh, hold B to give birth. Seems a little too straightforward if you ask us, although to be fair, huge differences in the physiology of prehistoric apes made childbirth simpler than it is for modern humans today. Easier childbirth and all the woolly mammoth I can eat. Sign me up.
Our top story this hour: 24 American civilians are dead in the wake of a shooting spree by a local insurgent group. KPA authorities are searching for
Goddamn propaganda. Glad you're awake. Saw you take more punishment than a man could live through. Come on outside when you're ready. I'll show you around.
Interacting closely with dead bodies is something that ideally only trained pathologists and worms want to do. However, in Homefront's near-future dystopian United States of America, you don't really get a say in the matter as you fight against invaders known as the Greater Korean Republic, or GKR for short. In this alternate reality, the invasion comes after the US economy is crippled by rising gas prices, the population is hit with avian flu, and an EMP satellite strike takes down the US grid.
Today, the Greater Korean Republic launched their latest communication satellite, claiming it will bring a message of peace to the entire world.
And if you think that sounds dumb, it's because Homefront is dumb. Speaking of dumb, how about a button prompt that has you vault into a mass grave? Less than an hour into the game, in your fight against the occupying force, you and your team discover the horrors of a mass grave, piled high with victims of this geopolitically improbable conflict.
Take a good hard look. Jesus, Connor.
There's nothing to say.
Suddenly, GKR helicopters hover overhead, and with nowhere else to hide, fellow resistance fighter Connor orders you to hide amongst the corpses, prompting one of the most tonally deaf button prompts in gaming history.
Lie down.
What?
Lie down! Jacobs, get in!
Yup, you're ordered to press a button to jump into a mass grave. That's jump, not lower, not climb, jump.
God damn it, Jacobs, I told you to lie down!
You know what, Chaos Studios, why not just go the whole hog and put cannonball? Swan dive, perhaps. There's very little to recommend using a mass grave as a hiding spot, particularly as it doesn't stop you getting shot at. Fun fact, this game is banned in South Korea. To anyone watching from there, you didn't miss out.
What are you doing? It's spotted!
The goal in Mario Odyssey is to throw your hat to possess creatures, until Mario has consumed enough souls that the demon that controls him can sleep for another 1,000 years, I think. As such, as you adventure through the colourful worlds that make up Odyssey, you'll assume control of all manner of weird and wonderful things, using their unique abilities to uncover new secrets in the game. For instance, when in control of this T-Rex, the game helpfully informs you that you can press B to attack. Or use the wings on this lizard to glide. Or press B when controlling the meat to twitch. And if you're thinking what I just said will make more sense in context, allow us to prove you wrong. Said meat is found in the culinary-themed Luncheon Kingdom, specifically Mount Volbono, where everything is dinner-themed, right down to the corn cobs you balance on to get around, and the sentient cutlery that calls the region home. While exploring Volbono, you'll doubtless come across an unusually shaped rock, but surprise! Once possessed, you're invited to press B to twitch, at which point it becomes clear Mario has in fact possessed a house-sized chunk of salt-encrusted raw meat. Keep pressing B and the Mario meat will convulse, jerking inch by inch along the plateau with a series of high-pitched squeaks and wet slaps. This is objectively quite distressing, so at this point in the video we'll pause and give you a minute to collect yourself. Okay, ready? Okay, so the meat Mario attracts predators. Namely cockatiel, a food-obsessed bird the size of several London buses, which, unable to resist the lure of a twitching slab of raw flesh, flies in for the steal, digging its 3-foot-long talons into the meat in order to fly off with it, which I think we have to assume causes Mario immense pain. It's one of literally 8,000 unanswered questions about this whole situation. Oh, where'd the meat even come from? 8001.
Huh, AJ Styles is the same age as John Cena. How interesting. But other things that are interesting are all those weird button prompts, of which there are many, many, many in video games. If you can think of any others, pop them down in the comments and don't forget to give this video a like. Also, if you want to see some more weird stuff on our channel, we've got some strange languages that we kind of wish that we could learn in real life. And over on Outside Xbox there's some really weird fighting games that you should go and check out. And also, we're just weird in general, so hit that subscribe button and the little bell and stuff. So, yeah. Oh, Finn looks nice.